If you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas and buying a home, you've probably heard two very different stories. Some people say Austin is one of the very best places in the country to live. I am one of those people. And other people say that, look, Austin used to be great, but really it's changed way too much. So which one is it? Now, I'm gonna tell you. Personally, I have lived here for right about 20 years now. I came here to go to the University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns, in 2006. I met my wife here. I started a career here. I'm raising my kids here. And my team and I have literally helped hundreds of people relocate to the Austin area, just like you. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, it's somewhere in the middle. And look, Austin can be an incredible place to live, but it is certainly not perfect. So in this updated 2026 version of this video, I wanted to walk you through some of the real pros and cons of actually living in Austin, Texas from a local's perspective. Now, these are some of the things that people love about living here, some of the things that are frustrating about living here, and all of these are things that you should know about before deciding if Austin is the absolute best fit for you and your family. So let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about the first pro of living in Austin, Texas. Now, everybody knows that Austin has a super vibrant fitness culture, right? And this isn't even the first pro. So I always say that if you move to Austin for 1 year and you do not leave in discernibly better shape than when you got here, you have done something terribly wrong and you are failing at life, okay? So I've talked about this before a ton in past videos, but the pro that I wanna talk about that a lot of people don't really realize until they've lived here for a while is that the fitness culture here in Austin is very social, okay? And this is something that I just don't think is super present in a lot of cities. And so, you know, I'm in New York and Chicago and LA and Miami and places like that. And I see people exercising all the time. I can see that being in shape, being fit, being outdoors, being active is something that's like really important to the culture of the town. But I only really see people exercising alone, right? And so in Austin, people love to be together, okay? And I think that's just part of being in Texas, part of being in like the Southwest. People are just social and they like being together, okay? So for example, I ride bikes, right? I love riding my road bike. I love riding my mountain bike, but I really love riding with groups. And so if you're riding through central Austin or really any part of Austin, you will regularly see these clusters of like road cyclists riding, you know, 10 to 20 people in a group, sometimes way more than that. There's actually a group here in Austin called the Breakfast Club that I like to ride with occasionally. And I swear I've ridden with like 200 people in a group all around Austin. It's like one of the coolest experiences ever. But all that said, I go to Barton Springs all the time. And if you go there before 8 a.m., I'm pretty sure it's free. So quick tip, if you're coming to visit Austin, definitely go to Barton Springs before 8. It's a really cool scene and you can get in free. But there are people who go swimming in groups, okay? You go around Town Lake, you go anywhere around town, you're gonna see clusters of people running in groups. There are people who do kind of Camp Gladiator. It's like a CrossFit workout outside in groups. There are people who do CrossFit in groups, obviously. I used to work out at a gym before I rejoined the YMCA. I worked out at a gym called Dane's Body Shop. Such a cool place to go and be social and work out together. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't have to love working out with people in a group to love living in Austin. Plenty of people have a home gym or they go and put their AirPods in and go work out at the Y all by themselves. No one will think you're weird. But if you're the type of person who loves being fit, you love being active, you love being social, Austin can be the perfect spot for you. Okay, now let's talk about the first con. So in my opinion, one of the big cons of Austin that you wouldn't really know unless you were here for a while is that it's actually a lot more spread out than people think, okay? So I think people think of a city being really dense, okay? And so we get people just like you reaching out to us all the time from places like LA, the Bay Area, those are in California, obviously, Seattle, Chicago, New York City, Miami, Denver. And a lot of those places are just, they're very dense. And so to get from one part of town or one part of the neighborhood to the other is just like really fast. You know, a lot of people can just walk around, but in Austin, it's not really like that. Like, honestly, I feel like there's this saying that Austin is 30 minutes away from Austin, okay? And so what that means is I feel like almost anywhere you wanna go, if you're going to a different part of town, it's probably gonna take you 30 minutes, okay? And a lot of people who are relocating from here, or sorry, who are relocating to here from out of town, they're just like, wait, what? I wanted to come to a city where I can just like walk or ride my bike or ride public transportation and I can just get around like boom, boom, boom. But in Austin, it's just not really like that. After all, we are in Texas, and most people, you know, kind of the stereotype of Texas is things are just a little bit more spread out. There's a bit more space. Now, a lot of people who come here, when they get here, they actually end up loving that things are just spread out. You can just kind of like stretch your legs a bit. People aren't in a super big hurry. It's a more relaxed pace of life, but you gotta know, you gotta plan ahead a little bit, because if you think it should take you 15 minutes, it's probably gonna take you about 30 minutes. And that's not just because of the growth in the traffic, which you hear about on videos all the time. It's because stuff is actually a lot more spread out than you probably think it is. Okay, so now let's talk about the second pro of living in the Austin area, all right? And I'm gonna take you on a little journey with me here. Now, in my opinion, one of the absolute best things about living here is that it's really easy to develop kind of a weekly routine, okay? So I have 3 kids. You know, I got 2 teenagers and a preteen. I run a business. I'm really involved in my church. Yeah, like I got a lot going on, all right? However, I have learned that it is really, really easy to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again every week. And sometimes that changes seasonally, but here's what I mean. Okay, so in the summers, right? Everybody talks about how hot it is. Again, if you've watched any pros and cons videos about Austin at all, you're gonna hear about how hot it is. However, what you don't often hear about is how many places there are to swim, how many swimming holes there are, how many creeks, streams, rivers, creeks there are in Austin. And so in the summertime, you know, my wife, my family and I, we go swimming every single week, okay? There are certain days where I get off of work and we just go to the community pool. We go to the neighborhood pool. We go to Bull Creek. My wife and I will go on a run on the Greenbelt, and then we hop in Barton Springs. And you know, Austin actually has like a lot of really cool farmers markets. So yeah, if you want to know about the Austin farmers markets, definitely reach out to us. We can let you know when those are. And there are a lot of really cool food trucks and like kind of pop-up coffee shops that kind of have weird but consistent hours. And so it's just so interesting to me how many people I talk to, you know, my kids, friends, parents at school, our clients, people at my church, who it's like they have these really awesome weekly routines of really cool stuff that they do. And they're just like, yeah, I do the same exact thing every week. You know, I'll even speak for me, like literally every single Saturday, I do a tennis clinic. All right, I go get my jitters out, play some tennis with some really great people. I go home and my family and I walk down the street and we go to Counter Cafe and have a late breakfast every single Saturday. And that's just something that's really easy to do in Austin. I don't know, I think that point might have made a lot more sense in my head. Let me know if that translated at all. Speaking of swimming, I mean, this tub is huge. I mean, you could swim in this tub if you wanted to. All right, we're gonna get out of here now. Now on that note, the second con I would say about Austin that a lot of people don't really realize until they get here is that a lot of the most popular spots in town, a lot of the spots that make Austin get incredibly crowded, especially on the weekends. So for example, there is a swimming hole in Austin. It's right in the middle of town. It's just south of downtown. It's called Barton Springs. If you have never heard of Barton Springs, just Google it. And definitely when you come here for a visit and you explore the areas and discover Austin fully, I am definitely gonna send you to Barton Springs because it's one of the coolest things ever. You know, my wife and I, we often go morning or night swimming at Barton Springs, and it's just so cool to like be in the springs and just look up and you just see downtown just right there on top of you. It is just one of the coolest things ever. Now, I will tell you, if you want to go to Barton Springs in the daytime, good luck, especially if it's on the weekends. It is going to be overcrowded, super packed. And so if I were you, I would go during the off hours, which honestly is a cooler experience anyway. But another example of that is, you know, Zilker Park or Butler Pitch and Putt. Like I can remember as a kid going to this little par 3 golf course, little 9-hole par 3 golf course. You know, it was super cheap. It was kind of ragged, but it was awesome, right? Well, now they've got new owners, you know, it's gotten improved. If you want to go anytime on the weekend, if the weather is good at all, get ready to wait an hour or an hour and a half for a tee off time or for a tee time. And it's just like so aggravating. So you do not want to do any of that stuff if you're on a tight schedule. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna go pop over to Zilker Park for a little bit and play some Frisbee, like you might have to wait for some space, okay? And for some people, that's just kind of a bummer. But again, go on the off hours, Pitch and Putt, Zilker, Barton Springs, and you're gonna be just fine. All right, now the third pro of Austin, Texas that I wanna talk about that a lot of people are shocked by is that the Austin airport is surprisingly convenient, okay? Now, hear me out. So our airport is small. Now, the older I've gotten and the more I've traveled, you know, I've been to like the Denver airport, the Dallas airport, Atlanta, Toronto, and sometimes I come back and I'm like, man, our airport is kind of dinky. It's only dinky in size. It is not dinky in impact, okay? So I actually think our airport here is just kind of small but mighty. Like, here's what I will tell you. We have a lot of clients moving from those areas I was just telling you about, these huge metropolitan areas like New York City, Chicago, and LA, where obviously you're gonna get great, convenient, direct flights to almost anywhere on the planet. But what I will tell you is over and over and over again, I talk to those clients and they're like, dude, like, I didn't realize for being such a small airport, like I can get almost anywhere I want on a direct flight from Austin, and it's actually not expensive at all. So again, a lot of people from these major cities are absolutely stunned when they realize just how great, how well run, how efficient, and how convenient our airport is here. And super bonus, our airport has the best airport food by far that I have ever heard of or ever experienced. We have the best airport food, we have the best airport coffee, and oftentimes when you go there, there's actually local live music there. So I just think the Austin airport is really kind of representative of what Austin is and just kind of who we are. And I just think that's a really cool thing. All right, now the third con I would say about Austin is there is no two ways about it. The summers here are so dry. Now, again, it is not the most groundbreaking thing ever to say that it's hot in Texas in the summer. And I want you to pay attention very carefully. I did not say that the summers are hot. I said that the summers are dry, okay? So obviously the summers are hot. I mean, we've got months and months where the average temperatures can be like 100, 101 degrees or something like that, okay? Yes, it's absolutely brutal, but I will say I am from like the southeast of Texas, so like the Gulf Coast, where it's just as hot as it is here, if not a tiny bit hotter and way more humid. And I will take the Austin weather every day of the week, twice on Sunday, all right? However, that is not what I'm trying to talk about here. I'm not trying to talk about how hot it is, I'm talking about how dry it is, okay? So a lot of people do not realize until they get here that like we can have pretty extensive seasons of drought here, okay? So it's one thing to be hot, but it's another thing to be hot and dry and crispy and the grass is brown and it feels like a lot of the trees around you are dying. And then you go out to, you know, Lake Travis where you're like, I'm gonna go boating and it's gonna be awesome. And just, it's really sad. The water's so low that a lot of the docks are just sitting on dirt. It's like, not even mud. That thing hadn't been mud for years. It's just dirt. And so it can just feel really depressing sometimes, just like, especially going through the summer where there's just, sometimes it feels like there's no rain and it's hot. That can just like compound things, if you know what I mean. So if you're coming to Austin for the first time in the summer, there's a good chance you're gonna be hot, you're gonna be dry, and you're gonna be crispy, all right? And so a lot of people in Austin, remember the first pro I talked about was how people love to be fit and active here. So get ready to just kind of retreat into your home during the daytime and get ready to like adapt a lot of your fitness routine to the early morning, like the dark of morning or the dark of night, because that's sometimes just the only bearable time people can just even stand to be outdoors at all here. Now, I will say a big solution to this is another one of my pros, which is that there are so many swimming spots. And so I just feel like, you know, in the summers, my family and I, we freaking live in the water. We live in the creeks and the streams and the springs and the neighborhood pools. And so that is how we cope in the summertime. And that's just the way it is. Let's talk about the fourth pro of Austin. Okay, so one of my favorite things about Austin is that even throughout all, or despite, I should say, all the growth and expansion that Austin has experienced over the last several years, Austin still feels surprisingly friendly, okay? So I will tell you, if you are not from Texas, you gotta know, we do hospitality different here, all right? We do it differently in Texas, okay? So in Texas, people like to be friendly. People like to lend a hand. People really like to be kind here. And so I always tell our clients like, hey, if you're walking down the street and someone nods at you and they say, how you doing? That is not a rhetorical question. Like, people actually want to know how you're doing. They actually want to hear what you have going on. And if you walk past someone and they nod at you or they say something to you and you totally ignore them, they are going to think that you are a psycho, okay? So just like, get over yourself and don't be like that. And if you just cannot stand to greet someone else, I will tell you, Texas is not going to be the place for you, okay? So all that said, again, I lived in Austin now for 20 years and still, like, in the grocery store line, like at H-E-B, I can't think of a time in the last several years where I did not strike up a conversation with someone standing in line with me. Sometimes that was initiated by me, sometimes it was initiated by the other person. But like, people here in general just love to connect. And I know there are a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, you know, well, a lot of people from California have moved to Austin, and so, you know, Austin ain't what it used to be and all the locals are gone. Well, bull crap, that is not true at all. There are still tons of locals here, okay? Like, my kids are 7th generation Austinites, and I am the only one of those 7 generations that was not born here. And so I will tell you, I still have friends, family, local friends and family living here. So let me just dispel that myth right now. Not all the local Austinites have left. There are still so many here, but a lot of the people who have moved here from out of town, out of state, out of the country, they came here because they wanted what Austin offers, okay? Like, I have just met so many friendly people. Like, I just met with a couple recently, yesterday actually, from Philadelphia. And they told me, they were like, man, it just feels dark here. It just feels like people are rude here. Like, we're nice people, like, we're kind. Like, we want to be in an area where people have each other's backs. We want to be in an area where people are friendly and they don't mind talking to us. And we just feel like Texas is going to be that place for us. So those types of people are coming here and contributing to the culture that we already have here. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So if you move in here to your home and your neighbor brings you a cake or some cookies, it's not weird. If you get sick and your friends at church or your neighbors bring you some soup or ask if they can take your kids to their basketball practice or whatever, it's not weird. It's totally normal. All right, now the fourth con that I want to talk about Austin, Texas, is that I think it's still a city that's figuring out what it is, okay? So let me explain. So back in, you know, the 70s, 80s, Austin just saw itself as kind of like a small college town, kind of a hippy-dippy town, you know, live music, weird, artsy culture town, you know, like that was its identity. And you know, there was a river running right through the middle of town, and like, people just came here to chill and just, I don't know, hang out. You know what? I'm gonna pause this right quick. Those ladies walking right there, I stopped my video just now because they were walking up and they just wanted to talk. They just wanted to say hi, and they expected me to greet them back and have a little short conversation. And I did that, and guess what? I freaking loved it. Okay, so back to Austin not knowing exactly what it is. So historically, Austin has seen itself as a music kind of hippy-dippy town, right? Now, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was kind of like this tech bubble, right? So companies like Dell Computers or Dell Inc. or Dell Technologies, I don't know what it's called now, but they came to town, kind of headquarters in Austin, and it started to become kind of a techie technology computer town, right? And then there were some hardware companies that moved in. You know, there's AMD, like chip manufacturing companies, there's Samsung. And then, you know, right before COVID, especially during COVID, there were companies that just flocked here, okay? Because we don't have any state income tax, and Texas is just a very, very business-friendly state. All right, like, we love business here. We love people making money and contributing to the community. And so there were a lot of tech companies that flocked here, not just hardware companies, but software companies, okay? So recently, you know, you've had companies like IBM, Apple, Facebook, Indeed, Verbo. I'm sure I'm forgetting like a ton of them. Some of them moved their headquarters here, and some of them moved like a secondary headquarters here. Oracle is another one. And so obviously that brought a ton of technology company workers, like software developers, tech salespeople. And with all of those industries, or with all of those companies moving here, you also have just like this spirit of entrepreneurship. And so all of a sudden, I feel like you just blinked and Austin went from being like this live music capital of the world to like the tech entrepreneurship capital of the world, okay? It's crazy. And sometimes I just feel like that happened overnight. And so still, like right now, You know, in Austin, it's kind of like, wait, are we like a music town? Are we tech town? Are we an entrepreneurship town? Are we a fitness town? Like, what exactly are we? And so sometimes I feel like Austin is going through somewhat of an identity crisis. I know that probably sounds a little harsh to say, but I think it's true. Now, I hate to turn every single one of these cons into a positive, but I will tell you there are a lot of people that we talk to every day, just like you, who are like, I like that about Austin. You know, I like that I can go there and I can be in a place that's just like culturally diverse, like culturally interesting, where there's like a lot of different ideas going back and forth, but I can also be in shape, and that's like a thing that is valued here. And I can like further my business prospects. Like a lot of people find the like schizophrenicness, is that a word, of Austin to actually be a huge draw for them. So I think that's interesting. All right, now the fifth pro that I want to share with you about Austin is that contrary to what you might hear about our incredibly terrible hot weather all the time, the weather in Austin is amazing for 7 months out of the year, okay? Now, yes, it is really, really hot from like July, sometimes June, July, all the way to September. But I am telling you right now, on average, the weather from October to, let's call it October to May, is absolutely dreamy, okay? We are talking ideal patio weather, front, back porch weather, swimming weather, hiking weather, biking weather. Like, it's amazing. Like, look, right now, you know, we're smack in the middle of March as I'm filming this video, and I'm out here. I started the day in a sweater. Now I've got a t-shirt on and I'm walking out here in the sun and it feels absolutely sensational, okay? Now, even when I go into the shade a little bit, I'm like, ooh, it's a little cold. But for the most part, I'm out here just soaking up the sun, not a dang cloud in the sky. And this is a lot of what you get October through May in the Austin area. Now, a lot of the festivals that happen in Austin, like the Austin City Limits Music Festival, South by Southwest, a lot of the marathons and triathlons that happen during these 7 to 8 months because again, the weather is absolutely incredible. And look, I always tell people, like, if you're just exploring Austin, you're like, I might hypothetically, theoretically move there someday if the stars align. I always say, come in July or August. Like, it's gonna be the absolute worst weather that we're gonna have in Austin. And if you can see the charm of Austin when you are sweating all through your pits because it's so hot, like, you are gonna love it here. Like, come see the worst of the worst weather and it will only get better from there. Okay, here we are. I would say the fifth con of living in Austin, Texas is that a lot of people who move here end up moving neighborhoods at least once, okay? Now, it is so incredibly hard to get a great lay of the land of Austin for several different reasons. I mean, one of them is we truly have so many different great parts of town. However, the north is very different from the south. The east is very different from the west. Central is very different from northwest. South central is very different from west central. So it is so incredibly hard to get a lay of the land. So what a lot of people end up doing is they move here and they're like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I'm just gonna move where I can afford it. And they buy a home just to realize, oh crap, I don't like it here at all. So if you're thinking about moving here, we do not want that to happen to you, okay? So definitely reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and my team and I would love to sit down with you, and we would love to get to know you a little bit. We'd love to hear about what you're looking for in a community, in a home, and we really wanna point you to the absolute best areas of Austin for you. And to know how to do that, we have to know you. So definitely reach out. So yeah, like the neighborhood I'm in right now, I'm in a neighborhood called Calaterra in Dripping Springs, and it is absolutely gorgeous here. We are at the foothills of the hill country. This is a master plan community, amazing builders, amazing homes. Like, I think this neighborhood is a stinking 10 out of 10, all right? However, this neighborhood is not for everyone. So if you just came out here for the prices and the lot sizes, but you're the type of person who wants to be super close to stuff like, you know, local coffee shops, cafes, restaurants, bars. You want to be able to ride your bike to different places. You want to walk your kids to school. Like, you're going to get here and you are going to absolutely hate it. So that's what I'm saying. We really need to know if these things or what things are important to you so that we can point you to the best neighborhood for you. I got tons of neighborhoods like that off the top of my head that would be amazing, and this would not be one of them. So again, I kind of think this is a pro, but it's a con if you don't know what you're getting yourself into and you're not properly educated. And that is that each neighborhood and each area of Austin offers something very, very specific, and it has a very different character potentially than the neighborhood right next to it. So if you want to get a much better lay of the land of the entire Austin area, you gotta check out our map tours playlist right here. And I gotta go home now.